Hello everyone and welcome back to a best of 3 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Jagannatha. Spawning here in the top right hand corner and playing with the blue Protoss probes from Denmark, we have none other than MaxPax. Now MaxPax, in my opinion, definitely the strongest, I was gonna say up and coming Protoss player in the world, but like, maybe that's a bit of a disservice, because in my mind, he's pretty much already there. Yes, he hasn't won any big tournaments just yet, but it feels like it's just a matter of time. He's recently joined the 7K MMR club, and he's been steadily improving over the course of the last couple of years. Now, he's good in Protoss versus Zerg, but here's the thing. His opponent, in the opposite corner, with the red Zerg drones from South Korea, he goes by the name of Dark. And Dark, I mean, Dark is one of the very greatest, right? He's one of the very best StarCraft 2 players of all time. So in my opinion, this is still going to be a very tough game right here for Max. Dark, actually, despite the fact... Okay, already some interesting stuff going on. Despite the fact that there was no probe blocking his natural expansion, he has decided to go for the third base as his first expansion regardless. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, okay, we see MaxPax going for a forge right now as a follow-up, but there is a drone scout. So MaxPax probably was supposed to send the probe out. Dark's like, hey, that probe is a little bit late. I'm gonna go ahead and take the third base first regardless, which, by the way, is in a way already like a counter to a cannon rush by itself. If he decides to commit to cannon rushing the third... okay, no, he cancels the forge. I was gonna say, yeah, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If you decide to go for the natural expo and you go for the cannon rush, obviously you can not only kill your opponent's expansion, but you could also lock them into their main base, right? Which is one of the reasons why the cannon rush is so strong. Dark, though, right here, immediately opts to go for the third base, which kind of shuts down a cannon rush altogether. I mean, you could go for the cannon rush over here, but then Dark is just going to expand to this location and just counterattack with a bunch of Zerglings. So already some clever play going on. He's going for a very quick third hedge. I kind of like it. Alrighty. So that's what I'm trying to get at, right? So MaxPax has kind of made a name for himself over the course of the last couple of years by being a very cheesy player. And really over the last half year or so, it seems to me that he's in that regard mellowed out quite a bit. He's playing a lot more standard styles these days because the standard is the standard for a reason. He's playing a lot more standard, like Stargate, into just, you know, more Stargate units, into, like, you know, more Star... He's playing a lot of that, right? You got what I'm trying to get at. So he's been playing a lot of the normal builds, and in this case, apparently, it's going to be a Stargate follow-up as well. But I'm sure that Dark is well aware of the fact that Max made a name for himself by playing very cheesy games of StarCraft 2, and that he still is definitely not afraid to mix those in. Now, obviously, Dark... I mean, Dark... He's been playing on the Korean server for most of his life, right? Probably quite literally. Dark has been cheesed so many times, because the Korean server, in case you're unfamiliar, is exceptionally aggressive. He's been cheesed so many times. He's probably been cheesed before MaxPax was even born, right? Literally. So, you know, Dark, he's definitely molded by the cheese. He knows what he needs to do in these sort of situations. Maybe not so much in StarCraft 2, but probably in StarCraft 1, which seems to be what all of the Korean StarCraft 2 pros that are a little bit older used to play before StarCraft 2 came out. Anyways, let us see exactly what the follow-up right now from Max is going to be. So, just a good old Void Ray. He'll probably go for a third base after this Overlord has been taken care of. Now, the Overlord obviously is going to hover into the main base. It's going to meet its demise. This is probably wants to scout right here what the follow-up is going to be. It's going to be an Oracle right now from Max, so nothing out of the ordinary. A couple of Zerglings going across the map, expecting the third base to go up. And actually, oh my god, he actually... Okay, so once again, MaxPax trying to outsmart his opponent first with the cannon rush. Then he decides to go to cancel, or he decides to cancel the Oracle, and he goes for a Twilight Council and a couple additional gateways instead. Does Dark pick up on this? So, the standard timing for the third Nexus after a Void Ray is about 3 minutes and 50 seconds, 4 minutes or so, because I guess there was a Forge Council, right? Dark right now scouts that there was no third Nexus at the 4-minute mark. Is that enough? Well, he probably also expects an Oracle to fly by these Zerglings right around this time. Alright, so it's going to be a Glaives upgrade right now here for the Protoss player here from Denmark. So he's definitely planning on going across the map and probably snipe a couple of those workers. Follow-up from Dark, interestingly enough, no Roach Warren. He decides to go for the Evo Chamber into the Baneling Nest. For Zerg at this point in the game, right, so he's seen the third base at this point. For Zerg at this point in the game, it's very important that you get as many drones out as possible, but obviously not so many that you just die to a bunch of adepts. right? So it's a very delicate balance that you have to figure out right now if you're a Zerg. Anyways, he hasn't seen the Oracle. He has seen the timing of the third base there. Even though MaxPax is trying to outsmart the Zerg here, he's saving up a couple of depths in the main base as well. I've got a feeling that... Oh, does he hit a supply block right now? Oof. Alright. Oof, okay. Hold up. So, he was gonna go for a Glaive's push. I think he still will. But rather than warping in an additional set of units, which he couldn't because he was supply blocked, he decides to add on 2 additional Stargates and go for the +1 flyer attacks. Maybe this was something he already wanted to do. Anyways, let's see. Dark does have 29 Zerglings, +1 melee is coming up. He's also got a bunch of Banelings. Banelings obviously a very solid option against these Adepts. Zerglings not so much, but with +1 melee they become quite a bit more powerful. So far, it seems like it's got shut down. Now, this is the way, though, that MaxPax likes to play the game. He's a tricky Protoss player. Probably one of the hardest to go up against. But so far, Dark is absolutely not impressed. Shutting this down easy peasy. Not even detonating the Banelings right there, you know, willy-nilly. Try to make sure that he just cleans up as much of this army as possible. Adepts are shading forward, but my god. Yeah, Dark is in the driver's seat. Now, maybe this can... Reinforcing Zergling's already running down. I was gonna say, maybe this army can get something done. Anyways, in the meantime, though, even though I'm praising the Zerg player quite a bit, Dark has secured 3 bases. He has got more workers right now than his opponent as well. The problem is that there is a huge army out at this point. Obviously, all of those Adepts got killed, with the exception of one that I think is in the wall of over here, yeah. So, how exactly is he gonna clean up these units? Without a battery overcharge... Spoiler alert, he won't. 18 probes end up going down. Third base in a lot of trouble right now. Dark still floods the map with more and more Zerglings, but right now he also follows it up with a couple of drones. Now notice here how the Zerg has been on hatchery tech the entire time. So we're 7 minutes into the game. Dark is just now getting the lair. Uncommon follow-up right here from Dark because most of the top-level Zerg players... They seem to want to go for Roaches and Ravagers in this matchup, but maybe Dark is trying to just, you know, show as well that he's capable of playing a variety of strategies. And honestly, at this point, I'm not entirely sure what... Yeah, so there's the Hydra Den coming up. I'm not entirely sure here what the Protoss player can do to try and secure a third base. Other than, I guess, plant all of the Void Rays at home. How many queens are there? 9 queens here in total. Yep. So they're going to be able to deflect this easy peasy, and Dark is looking very scary. MaxPax, with his next trick, Cannon Rush into Faked Oracle, into Glaive the Depths. Right now decides to go for a hidden base in the top left-hand corner. Normally this is the 5th or the 4th expansion for the Protoss. Instead, yeah, Dark right now looking around, he's like, wait a second. If you don't have a third, and you're on 2 bases still at this point in the game, I am expecting an absolutely massive, massive all-in. So he's been making non-stop units here for a little while already. Still though, he's got himself the 4th base up. Bottom right-hand corner is not fully saturated, but yeah, he's gonna fully saturate the minerals here very shortly. Adding on a couple of units here and then a few drones once again. He could obviously easily kill the Nexus in the top left, right? If he saw it with these Zerglings, but at this point, he has no idea what's going on. Double Robo as a follow-up here instead. Okay, there's the Nidus Worm. If Dark assumes that this is the 3rd base, this can backfire pretty hard. Okay, yeah. Okay, so he finally figures out that something's not quite right. Maybe this little trick right here worked out. Battery overcharge is going to keep that Nexus alive for a little while longer. Void Ray's also over here, so... It's a lot of dead Zerglings in this game already, and 93 in total. Dark could have definitely already won this game if he noticed that the base was up, but it turns out one of the tricks from MaxPax is working. That being said, is this really that good a scenario? Because remember, the Nidus network was already coming up. There's a lot of queens out in this game as well, 13 in total, so about as many queens as Hydralisks. These Hydras do have their ranged upgrade, speed upgrade only just now starting up. There's the Nidus Worm inside of the middle of the map. Queens are in there, Zerglings are in there as well, so I guess he's rallying all reinforcements in that direction. I like this though, double Robo Bay production, or sorry, double Robo Facility production. Obviously utilizing that Robo Bay to go into the Disruptors. I wouldn't mind seeing even Colossi at this point, but I guess these Protoss players at this level do, you know, prefer going for the, that shield battery is putting in a lot of work. They do prefer going for, oh my god, the Disruptors instead. Purification Nova number 1. Hydras without speed, no problemo. There's another Nidus Worm. Bailing speed is also coming up. Recall right now towards, okay, the natural expansion. He didn't want to fly over those Hydras and Queens for good reason. Splitting Queens off creep though against Disruptors is going to be very tricky. There are a couple of pylons powering the Robo facility here, so even though Dark has got a huge supply lead, yeah, the defensive capabilities right here of Protoss are quite insane. In the meantime though, base in the top left-hand corner in a lot of trouble. MaxPax may be able to hold on to the natural expansion. Man, okay, the transfuses there are very, very good. He may be able to hold on to the natural expansion. Ugh, maybe not even that. But the base in the top left at this point is gone. Another 16 probes end up getting killed. And all of the Zerg units decide to retreat at this point. Yeah, Dark doesn't really want to take any chances. But, big picture. We're 107 supply here with Protoss. 194 right here for Zerg. So for all intents and purposes, right now he's maxed out. 4 base Zerg versus 2 base Protoss. Now, air units for Protoss are good, but are they that good? Is there even any proper detection out right now for the Protoss player? Okay, there are a few observers. I was gonna say, if he doesn't see these creep tubers, it's gonna spread backwards pretty quickly. A couple of adepts here. Trying to catch the Zerg player off guard once again. But so far, Dark has been playing like an absolute champ. Fleet Beacon comes up. Templar Archives also comes up. So, MaxPax wants to try and max out on that Skytol's unit composition if I can make sense of this. If he hits like a few phenomenal Disruptor hits, and he can clean up some of this army, it's definitely still doable. If you look right here at the expensive, or like the army value right here of this, this Zerg force, you can see that Dark doesn't even have remotely enough money in the bank right now to remax. So if he loses this army for free... Okay, that was a good hit. That was also a good hit. That could become a disaster is what I'm trying to get at. That being said, yeah, third Nexus still not going up. So even though these Banelings ended up not really getting a whole lot of work done. There's a lot of Zerglings, by the way, over there. Is he going to try and get the wraparound? He could. Anyways, even though those Banelings got picked off for pretty much free, the Hydra still ended up killing the Nexus. So they still zoned that army backwards. Archons added into the mix too, which I quite like actually. So that's the idea, I guess, of the High Templar. Or the Templar Archives. You morph in a couple of Archons. Archons could take like 20 Banelings to the face. Few drones did end up going down here somewhere. But already you see double expos going up right here against for Dark. Dark having a hard time though, closing this one out. It's not for a lack of trying. He's just respecting the Disruptors very heavily. There's 6 of them in total at this point. Carriers are coming up. There's the ranged upgrade, but apparently a few Zerglings have run into the main base as well as the natural expansion. And at this point, only 9 probes remain. 71 workers were killed in 14 minutes. And this wasn't even a very aggressive start here from Dark at all. This was Dark opening up with a standard, well, relatively standard 3-hatch start. And he eventually dismantles MaxPax. Hey, so if you're a Zerg player out there and you're struggling with Zerg versus Protoss, just play like Dark, guys. That was a phenomenal game right there from Dark. Very impressive stuff. The thing is, right, you're always dealing, since target openers are so common, you're always dealing with very limited amounts of scouting information. And Protoss has got many tricks up their sleeve, right? Obviously, from those Glaive to Depths into like, even like Mass Void Ray, Mass Oracle, a couple of Dark Templar added into the mix. Protoss has tons of different builds, and all of them require a different response. So you need to, yeah, figure out what kind of opener the Protoss is going for, while simultaneously then, you know, making drones up to a correct amount. Anyways, so what exactly is MaxPax gonna do? He tried outsmarting his opponent like 5 times in game number 1. This time around, Dark just opting once again, by the way, because he droned all the way up to 17. Now an 18 hatchery going down at the third base. Once again, Dark apparently not really too concerned, just going for the third base as his very first expo. So I've brought this up in previous videos as well, but once upon a time, Haas, the, you know, extremely cheesy Protoss player from Taiwan, he made it to the grand finals of a DreamHack tournament. And this was a little bit uncommon, but basically he cheesed his way all the way to the finals, where he eventually went up against Cyril. Now, at some point, I don't really know exactly if it was, like, during the tournament that players figured out how to, like, counter that sort of style. But at some point, his strategy was, yeah, just simply shut down by going for the third base rather than the natural expansion first. So, maybe Dark in this series is saying, you know what? I know that Max is not afraid to mix in a cannon rush. Or, you know, go for some of that immortal juggling even, right? Which we saw a couple of years ago quite a bit. I'm just gonna go ahead and take my third base as my first expansion. Because at that point, I mean, you can still cannon rush me. But it's not gonna get the added benefit of, like, locking me inside of my main base, right? So, in a way, going for the third base first, it is one of the counters to a cannon rush. And I remember, yeah, at some point, all of the Zerg players started playing that against Haas. Just because, you know, Haas was always going for a forge very early on. And it turns out not very effective. But it's kind of a cool... Like, I've always liked the solution to it. It's kind of a cool, elegant solution to... Yeah, to the cannon rush and to very early Protoss cheeses in general. Where you just skip the natural and you go for the third base first. Isn't that kind of a... I don't know. It's kind of a clean solution. Rather than going for, like, a weird, like, one-base Ravager play. Or, like, I don't know, one-base Swarm Host with Nidus Worm. Which is what we saw quite a bit. You just take your third base as your first expo instead. Anyhow, MaxPax in this game, playing very normal, going for the standard probe scout across the map, going for the Stargate right now as well as a follow-up after that Cybercore finished. The Zerglings right here wanted to get some scouting info done, but not really happening here so far. MaxPax has already scouted the triple hatch opener. I mean, that is one of the downsides, of course, when you take your third base first. There's not really that much... Like, you can technically go for an all-in, but it's very difficult to pull off. So, there was a quick third hatchery as a follow-up here as well for the Danish, or for the Zerg player, I guess, so the Danish Protoss player here. Scouted out exactly what was going on. He doesn't really need to send the Adept across. He knows what 9 times out of 10 the follow-up from the Zerg is going to be, and that is just going to be the good old drones. Void Ray first, into Oracle. Dark decides to see if he can maybe get a peek right there of the gases or something along those lines, which is another little way that you can scout out exactly what the Zerg is, or what the Protoss player rather is going for. Either way, there it is. 3 minutes and 47 seconds right there on the third Nexus. And those are the little tells that I'm sure the Zerg player is looking out for. So we do have an Evo chamber once again here for Dark. Pretty quick one. And he once more goes into the +1 melee. Oracle will arrive right as the Spore Crawler is finishing up. Honestly, Dark is looking exceptionally clean so far in this series. I haven't really caught him making any mistakes. Or nothing significant anyway. Seems to be very on point so far. There's the Baneling Nest as well. Added gases here. So, he's once again gonna go for the Ling Bane style. No quick lair, by the way, again. Huh. So Roach Ravager is very good in this matchup for, you know, multiple reasons. The thing is, Roaches kind of like deal with all of the ground units reasonably well. They're not very good against anything in particular, but they're good against everything reasonably well, right? Meaning that, obviously not so much against, you know, flying units, but they're very good at, like, dealing with standard Protoss follow-ups, be it Immortals, be it, you know, War Prism juggling, be it with Archon drops, be it against Dark Templar, be it against Adepts, right? So Roaches are good against pretty much everything. Lingbane is also good against, honestly, most of that stuff. It's just harder to pull off. Because if you accidentally give away your Banelings or they roll into the wrong thing, right? Like, Zerglings get hard countered by many of the Protoss units. So, yeah, you need that Baneling support. So it's a less, I guess, easy way of playing the follow-up. Anyways. Speaking of follow-ups right now, we have double Stargate, Void Ray, +1 flyer attacks coming up here as well for the Protoss player. That being said, okay, we have a Queen March with Zergling, Baneling, and +1 melee? Okay, so that is something. I mean, the Queen March obviously is nothing weird. We've seen Queen Marches a gajillion times over the last couple of months especially. Really, like the last year or so, we've seen Queen Walks like this many, many times. Turns out when you make a lot of Queens for the defense, making them for the offense is pretty helpful as well. So there's 11 in total. Normally, though, this is accompanied with Roaches and Ravagers, not Zerglings and Banelings. That being said, I mean, +1 melee is done. These Lings and Banes both benefit from that upgrade. They definitely pack a punch. Baneling's obviously really good at just blowing up not only the Adepts, but also the static defense right there. And that was a really good detonation. More Lings and Banes right now as a follow-up as well. Dark is just zoning the Protoss player out of the third base. Okay. So this is a follow-up I'm not really too familiar with, but it seems to be working like an absolute charm. Banelings want to try and walk up the ramp. Sentry will be warped in just barely in... Okay, yeah, just barely in time. He does have one force field available. This is once again, though, also going to force those Void Rays back to the net, which I guess is going to give the Queens some time to go back home. And now the third base has been cleaned up. Bunch of probes were obviously killed here as well. But the biggest problem at this point is that MaxPax is sitting at home with 63 workers on 2 bases. Yeah, and they're still linking back. Oh, God, this is a really cool follow-up. So the difference, right, when you go for Roaches and Ravagers, this is actually cool. I haven't really seen this too often before. If you go Roaches and Ravagers, you can't really park the units out on the map, right? You can't really, like, park them over at the third base. The thing is, because obviously then, you know, the Void Rays can just come and kill everything. The thing is, Void Rays are not fast enough to shut down Zerglings and Banelings. So, while the Void Rays are on the other side of the map, normally, if this would be a Roach Ravager follow-up, the Roaches and Ravagers would be forced to sit on the creep as well. But yeah, Dark is just happily delaying his opponent's expansion here. And even though I do think it's probably gonna go up eventually, it's buying a ton of time. So these... Yeah, this Void Ray over here, 6 kills. There's a lot of kills over here and a ton of Zerglings that ended up going down here. Third Nexus, planted down again at the 8-minute mark. This does get scouted brilliantly as well. When did that Overlord even get rallied in that direction? Was that a misrally and just a coincidence? It must be. It must be. There's no way that was intentional. Anyways, it's scouted perfectly. Makes him look really smart. Still though, these are Zerglings with +1 melee. They do not mess around. Ay, 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 ay. Alright. I've seen MaxPax absolutely destroy most Zerg players recently. Now, Dark is, of course, one of the top 4 Zergs in the world. So he's definitely cut from, like, a different material. He's sterner stock than what we normally see in StarCraft. Alright, MaxPax decides to get a little bit tricksy here. Splitting up the Void Rays. So Queens are inside of the third base, or I guess the low ground base over here, and then also the main. There are a bunch of Void Rays over here. MaxPax once again trying to outsmart and out-trick his opponent. At this point he needs it, but Dark already picks up on it as well. Brought a couple Queens over in this direction. Is there enough DPS though for these Void Rays to kill the base regardless? There is some transfusion energy remaining. He does get the expansion, but at what cost? In the meantime, on the other side of the map, a Disruptor has come out. There is some static defense over here. Oracle killing every single one of these Zerglings if they stick around for long enough. Alright. That was expensive, though. 3 Void Rays end up going down there. I think pretty much all of those were killed just now. But MaxPax gets the base. Problem is, though, yeah, this expansion will just be reacquired. There's already a left base here coming up as well. Dark is going to be forced to long-distance mine or transfer the workers on over towards the left side of the map. Was that really... I guess it was worth it, yeah. I guess it was worth it, but right now we're going to see a very passive Protoss player here because he just can't really move out. He's forced to defend right now at home. So, Carriers is a follow-up. Already, though, a Hive has finished up, apparently, for the Zerg. He's got to go for Vipers. He's got to go for the Adrenal Glands upgrade. Plus, the Ultralisk Cavern. Alrighty, now, if you haven't seen a late-game Zerg versus Protoss in a little while, Ultras may kind of, like, you know, make you a little bit confused. So, the thing is... Queens and Hydras are really quite good against the Protoss air units, right? In like a straight-up battle, Queens and Hydras, maybe even with Microbial Shroud, which is uncommon, but, you know, they would win a straight-up battle against Skytles. The main issue for the Zerg player is the Disruptor or the High Templar, right? So they can absolutely shut down all of those Zerg ground units very effectively. It turns out if you add in a couple of Ultralisks, they will just walk ahead of the army, and not only can they obviously kill those ground units quite effectively, they also zone them away. So, I mean, at this point, those Disruptors are going to be able to get some very good hits in. But once the Ultras are out, I mean, the Disruptors are going to have to be much further in the back, and if they decide to channel one of the Purification Novas, they can get a lot of work done, right? The Ultras will just kill them. Okay, there's an abduction. Queen's trying to target fire it down. 12 drones, though, did get killed. Okay, another Void right there. Gets sniped just barely on the way out. More Disruptors coming up. There's the High Templar with the Storm upgrade as well coming up. Oh, okay, very good warp in there. Again, I know I've said it a few times already, but these Zerglings right now, especially with +2 and Adrenal Glands, which is a 40% attack speed improvement, they would bite through this middle line very quickly. They do not mess around. Alright. So +3. Look at this. Triple Evo. Dark is such a good Zerg player to watch, man. Ay, ay, ay. So Dark's ultimate late game armies recently in Zerg vs. Protoss, they have been Queen, Infestor, Viper. So basically all 3 spellcasters that Zerg has. I'm not sure exactly how he hotkeys it and how he controls it in general. Because you need to, like, in order to micro those units, they all need to be controlled very well. He seems to pull it off. Really the only Zerg player I've seen go for triple spellcaster. Anyways, MaxPax. Slowly getting to the point, though, where he is maxed out. But look at these Zerglings. So much DPS. No council on that Nexus in the top left corner, so it will be denied. Bailing's trying to get some work done. Good deny right there, though, by Max. Who is getting to the point right now where he's close to maxing. Couple Archons here in the mix as well, and we're looking at a pretty formidable Protoss Death Bowl. I think an Archon? Yeah. He's got a lot of gas. So there's Disruptors, there's Feedback, there's Storm, there's, well, there's a bunch of spellcasters here for Protoss too. Don't, like, I know there's gonna be some Zerg players here that look at this army and is like, okay, this is Protoss F2A move, right? All army hotkey and just attack move. That's not how this army works at all. You need to have the Archons in the right spot. You need to have the Sentry hotkeyed. You need to make sure you get the High Templar hotkeyed. You need to make sure you have the Disruptors hotkeyed. This is not an easy Protoss army to control whatsoever. There's the Infestors coming up. There's the +3 coming up. There's the Neural Parasite as well. Look at the Ultras, though. 7 Ultras available. Queens can live through Purification Novas. This is what I'm talking about. Turns out the best anti-air unit that Zerg has is the Queen. Well, maybe not, but he's got a lot of them. 20 Queens! I mean, Queens obviously transfuse each other. They can live through a Purification Nova, but at the same time, they can also, you know, heal up these Ultralisks. Archons, though, also pretty good. A lot of High Templar and a lot of Disruptors there get killed. Miss rally right there, or miss positioning, I guess, for MaxPax. At the same time, though, he does have Void Rays over once again at the 3rd base of the Zerg player, and that expansion will be killed in a heartbeat. Alright, is Zerg gonna be able to clean up the base here as well in the top left-hand corner? I think if it, you know, if that static defense or you know, if the static defense was still up together with, like, the ground units over here, like the Disruptors as well as the High Templar, I think this base in the top left would not have any problems. Anyways, MaxPax in the meantime, though, with the Void Rays killing 2 Expos, and he's gonna go after some drones here as well. Infestors coming in from the side together with some Lings and Banes. And apparently Dark wants to continue fighting this. He does have a large bank, okay. Oh, he wants to go for Neural Parasites, and he does manage to grab 2 of these carriers. Good target firing, though, there by MaxPax. Make sure that this army gets cleaned up. Natural Expo, okay, of Dark also killed. Void Rays now have been recalled back to home. And while a ton of probes end up going down, I do not think that these Ultras will live to tell this tale. That being said, Ultras with their full armor upgrades. Oh my god, it's kind of hard to see. There you go. They lived through this army quite a long time, and it's They even kill the Expo. Dark. I mean, if it wasn't for these Void Rays killing 3 Expos, this would have been pretty much the perfect game here for Dark. Right now, he's up with his back against the wall a little bit for about a minute or so. But can MaxPax really counterattack here? 24 Queens, 8 Ultras. This is the Unicorn position. Ultras are on the other side of the map. They're getting shot at by lasers. While everything dies against these, or everything here that Protoss has, well, that's one way of denying an Expo. That's a burrowed Ultralisk. Anyways, while everything here for the Protoss player kills these Ultras, the Ultras, you know, take a long time to die. And it's buying those 2-3 minutes that I was talking about. 11 Infestors on top of the 4 that are already out. Queens here have a ton of transfusion energy. That being said, I mean, this is scary. Okay, there's indeed the Paris... Oh, no, what's it called? Microbial Shroud. Going down on top of all of the Queens. And that together with, you know, the transfusions. I don't think it's ever really gonna kill the Queens against pure Skytals. Okay, Disruptor comes up as well, which is much better. But you really do need ground units here. Without ground units, there's not much you can do. Okay. Purification Nova does go down, but I mean, Microbial Shroud together with Spore Crawlers and Queens. There's an Ultra here as well, ready to get rid of this army. Few Ultras in the natural expansion of the Protoss player also going to town. This Protoss army is pretty scary. It's decently well upgraded, not as well though as the Zergs. +3 is still researching here for the Flyers. My god, is this a scary Zerg army. There's Microbial Shroud once again. He's killing all of the Interceptors. So, we're 5 carriers here and 20 Interceptors. They can carry 8 each. So, only half of them are so... Oh my god, these probes. Nope, never mind. Only half or so of these carriers actually are fully loaded. Or, more likely, all of them are half loaded. Anyways. At this point, MaxPax doesn't even have the money anymore to make a new Interceptor. They cost 15 minerals each. And there it is. Dark wins an extremely dominant series against MaxPax. So next time anyone considers cheesing Dark or tries to outsmart him, you should probably reconsider. Anyways, for now, thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way until the end of this video, please hit the like button down below. If you want to see more, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. But for now, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.